welcome back to the Hobby Lodge. So today I'm going to do a bit of an unboxing of a whole load of things. In my hands here I have the Dystopian Wars Enterprise Battle Fleet, which is an awesome box of models for the game Dystopian Wars, which is a 1/1200 scale ship to ship sea battle, just craziness. And 1/1200 scale, if you didn't know, other normal tabletop games, you're kind of in that 1/28 scale. So imagine this is really zoomed out. I'm looking at a huge battlefield out at sea with ships firing all sorts of stuff at each other to try and destroy each other and try and win the game. So yes, I'm going to open this box up, show you what's inside, and we'll talk about the game a little bit as we go. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game below or this box. I have to give a shout out to on tabletop.com because they sent me this. I didn't pay for it. They sent it to me for review, but they don't ask anything of me. They don't say give it a favorable review or whatever. And in fact, they didn't even ask me to do a video. They just said, hey, we'd love you to take a look at it and see what you think. So obviously, yeah, in partnership with Wade and Games on tabletop.com sent me this. But I'm going to talk about it because it is an awesome thing, and I have already had models from this range before. So yeah, I'll take you through it, show you what's in there. I've got the table set up behind me. I would normally do it on the desk in front of me right here, but actually it's too big. I can't get the camera over it. So we're going to move over to the table and take a look at there. See you in a sec. Okay, here we are. This is the Enterprise Battle Fleet. As you can see, a fairly chunky box. I thought it would be nice to open it up on the C mat that I have. This mat is from Deep Cut Studios, in case you're interested, but there are other companies that do them as well, and they are essentially just giant mouse mats. This one happens to be a 6x4 foot neoprene mat with a lovely sort of sea print on it, so that when you're playing your watery based games, you've got a pretty good surface to play your game on. You can play this absolutely on a kitchen table, but it sure is nice to have an actual sea environment to play your game. Okay, I've got my knife, so let's break into it. I mean, first of all, obviously, let's take a look around the box. Lovely artwork on the front. As you can see, this is the Enterprise, this is the Union, and this is who they represent. There's the back, so you can see all of the gubbins. That's what you're going to get inside the box. So lots of big ship, well, a couple of big ships, well, a few big ships, one massive ship, and a bunch of bigger ships, and then so on and so forth. And then your torpedoes, or actually, I think these might be aircraft. Because I think this box is all about sort of not only having sort of superiority within the sea, but also some air control as well. So you can see there's other things here to sort of gain that air superiority in the battle. And as you can see here, it does actually tell you, if I bring the box up a little bit, let me try and get it into focus if I can for you. That's what you're getting in there. So the Enterprise supercarrier, the 3 frontline cruisers, and they can be built in different ways. Support cruisers, Patriot, sort of these kind of robots, frigate class farragutes, Acorn Observatory rotor, and 3. There we go. So try reading that and getting your words out while you're on camera. Let's open it up. We want to look inside it, don't we? That's what we want to do. We want to get inside it, get amongst it, see what we're getting. If you're interested, I think this box retails for about £75. So you're getting, I don't know how many models you're getting in there, but what is it? Oh, a quick count. What do you got? 1, 4, 7, 13, 19, 22, 24 models. That's pretty good, isn't it? Talking a few quid per model. Let me just refocus that. And they tend to be, on the other boxes I've done, they tend to be a bit of a mixture of hard plastic and then still some resin ones. And I am becoming more and more of a fan of the resin. When it's done well, resin does come out fantastically. I love the presentation of these boxes. They really are high quality. It's not just a nice sleeve and then chucked in a cardboard box. They don't have to do this. This obviously adds cost, I'm sure. But it really does give everything a nice presentation. Like, you could keep things in here. And it is actually a lovely box with the embossed logo and everything on, and the war cradle, silver embossed on the side. So they do not just strike together. It's actually really nicely done. Okay, inside we're going to get, oh look, read this first. Oh, we don't do that. When would we ever read something first when we can just dive into all the goodness? So read me first. What have we got here? Ah, okay, fair enough. It's the build instructions. We probably would read that first. Well, there's a lovely bit of art in the middle there. What's on the box? You can take that out and stick it on your wall, or put it in a little frame, or do whatever you want to do. And they just stack cards at the back as well. So this really is a read me first. Everything they have is also available on the website. So if you wanted to get the rules to the actual game, so obviously this is an expansion or a starter force, or actually probably an entire force, given the size of it. But if you picked up the 2-player starter set, you'd have your rules and your gubbins and all the rest of it. They do also do a gubbins box. I think it's even called the gubbins box. And that comes with no miniatures, but it's got your rule book, your templates, your cards and tokens. And that's actually what I bought, because I'd already got a force from a friend for this. And then I've been very, very fortunate, as I've said before, to get some bits and pieces from on tabletop.com. So how I got into this game, all I needed was all the gubbins. So it's great that they do a box that's fairly cheap. I think it's £20 to get that box of gubbins. So I recommend getting that. If you pick up something like this, the box of gubbins will do you fine. But yeah, this tells you everything you need to know as part of, for this force. So it's not going to give you any rules. But it's going to give you your build instructions, nice and clear. And where there's options, it gives you options. And then you've got your stack cards as well, so you could start to, you could use this book in your game. What you could do is you could even cut this up. Once you've built it all, there's no issue there. You could cut these out and have them to use. Oh, there's some rules in the back there. Maybe some of the keywords that are being used and such. Actually, it looks like there's a fairly good bit of rules. And there's a quick reference on the back, which is always useful. When you're playing your game, you don't want to keep opening the rule book every time, so it is nice that you're able to have this kind of quick reference for things. Let's put that aside. Okay, let's get into the meat of it, shall we? So we have a bunch of bases. Now these War Cradle games tend to use what they call these. Actually, I think they're called like stages. They're a bit more sort of dramatic for your miniatures. So rather than just an ordinary base, these have these kind of lipped bases, and it gives everything a bit more of a presentation feel. Feels a bit more grander. But yeah, they're nice bases. And you've got a whole load of them. Obviously, plenty for your entire force. Next up, we've got some flight stands. So everyone will know what these are. These are simply for the miniatures that you are building that are flying. They have these clear acrylic stands to stand on, so they can be floating in the air. Now, obviously, build your miniatures, stick them on sticks, prime them, and then paint them. Do not stick them on these until you're ready to present them on the table, because otherwise you'll get paint on them, you'll get primer on them, you'll get matte varnish on them, whatever, and they will no longer look as nice as they do straight out of the box. I'm only saying that, that's not to teach you to suck eggs, that's because I have done it. I have built miniatures before, pluckily stuck these on and went, oh, they look awesome. Took them outside and went, and primed them, obviously priming the stick as well. So, yeah, now I can be that stupid. Okay, right, into the sprues. Okay, so we've got 3 of this sprue. Let me just check, it looks like 3 the same. Yeah, they don't want to stick together for some reason. So let's just take a look at one of them, because we've got 3 of them, so we don't have to look at all 3. But let's see if I can get to zoom. If I can zoom in a little bit and show you some of the detail on the actual sprues themselves. So this is the ship's deck. You can see this kind of aircraft here. Yeah, I mean they look nice. What I'll do is, if people are interested, I'll do a follow-up video with it all built, and I'll always be doing painting streams. So at some point these will appear on one of my streams. So if you're interested, follow me on YouTube or on Twitch. I'm the Hobby Lodge on YouTube, the Hobby Lodge on Twitch. You can come over and you'll see me pick these up and paint them live. I don't tend to do videos of me painting them because I'd much rather do it live, because I can get to sit and chat with people whilst I'm doing it and tell you my thoughts as I go. So yeah, I mean, nothing that's blowing my mind. It's not, but they're not together yet, so they don't look. It's hard to tell. But you can see the details. I mean, I love the little planks in the deck. Now remember, this is tiny scale, so that's the size of my thumb, and that's the size of the wooden planks. But really easy to paint. You're using whatever colour you want. You could go brown or whatever colour. And then a wash would just go into all of those little crevices and make the plank stand out. You could also use contrast paint. That's what I'll be using. I use contrast paint for everything. So yeah, check out the contrast paints and do that. I'm going to save this to last because that's a good old chunky bit of resin, I can tell. Some more flight sticks. Some, I'm guessing these are for torpedoes and stuff, because they have a little cutout there for you to stick something in, and it's meant to be a sea surface. So my guess is either for flying things, or might actually be for the fly. Yes, it is for the flyers. Okay, yeah. So the flight stands stick in those sort of oval cutouts, and these are your bases. So again, once these are painted blue, they will sit lovely against your sea surface there. See. So yeah, you know, these are expensive, but you don't have to get a 6x4 foot one. You can actually get smaller. I'm sure the game runs on many sizes. I don't believe you need a 6x4 foot table. It's actually kind of dying out now. I find that I'm even considering cutting some of these down to be either 4x4 or even 3x3s, because lots of people now are turning more towards skirmishing games rather than the big war games, and you don't need a 6x4 table anymore, really. But anyway, I digress. They will look awesome when they're painted up blue against your blue table. So I've got a few more of those for the various flying things. And then the last bit I've got, just noticed a couple of bits have come off the sprues. So just be careful of that when you open your box. If anything breaks off a sprue, just make sure you don't lose it. Now, because a lot of the sprues are copies, I'm going to assume there's a fair bit of repetition, and there'll be extras that you can use. But just be conscious of it. Just look out in case the box has things have broken off or anything. Of course, if anything is fully broken, reach out to the guys. They will definitely send you bits, or send you a new sprue or help you out. So yeah, I've never had a model company not be able to help me if I've had damaged sprues or whatever. So yes. Right, here we go. These are the other ships. So maybe the smaller frigates and so on, some of the aircraft. But again, just nice detail. I'm not seeing any blemishes or marks or anything that's gone wrong in the process of making them. All looks pretty sound. There we go. And these are the other two, and they're just exact copies of that same sprue. So you've essentially got 6 sprues, and 3 are of one set, and then these are the other set. And as you saw in the box and in the instructions, even though they're copies, there's options there to create different ships based on what guns you're attaching, or what part of the engine you're attaching, or changes to the hull you might be making to make the various ships based on what your army is going to be. You know, what's your force? Is it more focused in certain ways, or is it, you know, whatever. Okay, next up, let's move that box out of the way. Let's take a look at a big old chunk of resin. This always makes you happy. Now remember, this is, as I said before, 1/1200 scale. So you are seeing this from a significant height above the sea. And there we go. So this looks like, it's kind of like it's clearly an aircraft carrier of some description, with some options. So we'll take a look around this first. Now with resin, unfortunately, sometimes there can be failures, but I'll be honest, with War Cradle, this isn't for any other reason than I'm going to just say it, I don't think I've ever had a failure. I'm really racking my brain for a second. I've definitely had failures with other model companies with resin. You sometimes get bubble, or you sometimes get big chunky bits hanging off that you've got to saw off and such. A bit like this, really. I mean, this isn't failure. This is how this is by design, and you just need to cut these off of here, or use a little saw to cut them off. But I mean actual, like with these big flat pieces like this, sometimes you get like a divot in there or something, or you know, you might get a bubble around here and part of the model's missing. But looking at this, and I'm going to just move away from the camera a little bit to check with my own eyes. Yeah, it looks perfect. And it's got a lovely, what I love is it's got a lovely weight to it, so it feels really nice when you're moving this around with the table. Sometimes plastic miniatures, that's why I'm a big lover of metal miniatures, even though they've kind of gone to the wayside a bit, because it feels good. It feels good when you're picking them up and handling them and playing with them on the table. They've got weight to them. With some plastic miniatures, they weigh next to nothing, and therefore just doesn't have any heft to it. Doesn't have any feel to it. A lot of the time I mount things on like 2p coins or try and add a bit of weight into the base, but this certainly feels like a chunky piece of resin. That's nice. This is the cockpit, or the, what would you call, I don't know what the, what's this, the bridge, I guess. What would you call it on a big ship like this? So yeah, that's the sort of command center where they're up there doing everything. So you can imagine, obviously the people are tiny people. You are looking at this from 1,000 feet in the air, which is nice because I find, and it's just again a preference. I've moved away. 28mm is fantastic for skirmishing games because you're really in the heart of the action. So if there's only a few miniatures on the table and the table's a lot smaller, you really feel like you're down in the weeds of it. For mass battle games, I think you've got to go to these sort of more epic scales. 15mm is really nice to play. This feels really nice to play because you're even further zoomed out. It gives you that kind of like command and conquer kind of feel, like I'm up in the skies and I'm looking down the battlefield and I'm directing my forces, and yeah, it can be a really wide and battlefield you're fighting on. So really cool from that point of view. So yeah, it's also blooming easier to paint. You can get away with a lot of mistakes. So yeah, there's the cockpit. I showed you that before. And then what's this bit? This looks like an extension to the runway. I'm just trying to see where that would fit. Ah, here it goes. It goes inside. It just goes inside there. Yeah. Maybe not how I'm putting. I'm not actually. I think it would go that way, but there we go. There we go. There we go. Obviously, a little bit of clean up on that piece, just because it's an additional piece, but not much. As you can see, I've just slid that in, and if I give it a push, you can't even see the seal anymore. So that is pretty. Just that bit there, just that ladder or whatever that is, that sort of track is misaligned. So just need to shave a little bit off of that edge, but that's a pretty snug fit. That went in pretty well. So yeah, there we go. That's the big aircraft carrier, massive super carrier. It's called Enterprise's super carrier. Okay, so I think we've been through it all. So just to recap, that's what you get in the box. An entire force, good to go, and it was the Enterprise battle fleet. So I hope you enjoyed that. Give us a like if you liked it, or don't. If you didn't, give us a thumb down. Leave us a comment. Is it a game you've played? Would you like to see me build it? Would you like to see me paint it? Would you like my ideas and how I'd go about doing that using obviously the contrast method that I use? Yeah, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you on the next video. All right. Cheers all. Bye bye.